Alright guys, I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to create a UI or user interface for CRYENGINE 3 SDK version 3.5.3. Basically, we're going to make a simple menu, like a button or two. We're going to integrate it into FlowGraph, and then we're going to utilize it. So there's a couple things you're going to need. You're obviously going to need CRYENGINE 3 SDK. Extracted to your drive somewhere. I just extracted it straight to C/CRYENGINE. You're going to need the editor, of course, and a level, but we'll get there. Adobe Flash CS5.5 is what I'm using, and Adobe Photoshop CS6. These, I believe, Adobe offers trials for both of these. If you're a student, you should be able to get licenses for these. That shouldn't be a problem. And Notepad++. I'll have links to Notepad++ in the description. Also, any other text-rich files, like some of the config files we'll be editing, I will put a link to those as well, because I do realize that retyping all of them out can be tedious, and sometimes, depending on the video quality or your internet, you might not be able to actually visually see the important details of the files. So pretty much everything that we create and I use and develop here in this video, we are going to put in the description. So alright, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and go to File, New. I'm just going to do, I guess a basic button size is 200 by 45 pixels. Go ahead and leave everything else the same. Let me resize this a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here. Right off the bat, I am going to double click on background and just convert it to a regular layer. Control IA and then delete the background. You don't really need the background. Now I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to name it idle. So this is going to be basically the button's idle position. Zoom in a little bit here. And I'm going to create a very basic button here. It's not going to be anything special. I'm going to make it... All my buttons are usually so boring. That's a terrible color. It's not any better. I don't know. Let's go with a basic control form gray, whatever. It's probably a little bit lighter than that basic. Okay, so we have our button right there. Ta-da! Don't, yeah, you can do text now if you want, but when we get into Flash, I'm just going to make it an easily adjustable text, so you don't have to resave and re-import buttons, and I'm just going to do it on the fly in the editor. So go ahead and do that, and now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the layer, and I'm going to name this idle, so then we're going to have over. So this is going to be the texture that you see when your mouse cursor will go over the button. And I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to name this one down. Now this will be what you see when you press the button down. So first off, idle. Okay, I don't need a super comprehensive tutorial on this. Just work with over for now. Now when I go over, I'm going to go to blending options. I'm going to do a basic outer glow. And I'll set it to glow red. Super basic. Now I'm going to hide over. Now actually, I'm not sure if this is important or not, but I'm actually going to right click on my over texture. You see how it has an effect outer glow on it. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to raster size layer style, and it's basically going to permanently save that glow to it, so it's no longer actually a layer style. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the down button. I'm going to go to blending options. Well, actually not the same thing, but I'm going to do a bevel and emboss, so it actually kind of looks like you press the button. Let's see, let's go down. Super basic. Now I'm going to raster size this layer again. Now we have a down, an over, and an idle. Idle, down, or idle, over, and down. Ta-da! Super easy. You can actually just delete the background layer. It doesn't even matter. So now I'm going to go ahead and save as. Now I'm going to teach you guys the structure that is going to be somewhat necessary for actually doing this. Like I said, if you go to C in CRYENGINE directory, go ahead and go into Game SDK, and then libs. If you don't have a libs folder, go ahead and create it. And then inside that libs folder, you're going to have a UI folder. If you don't have one, go ahead and create it. And then I'm going to actually, make sure I'm getting my structure right here, yeah. So you're going to be in CRYENGINE Game SDK libs UI folder. Now I'm going to create a new folder and just call it GUI. And then I'm going to name this buttons and save it as a Photoshop PSD file. Maximize compatibility, don't show this again, whatever. Okay, your buttons are created. That was simple, right? Cool. Close Photoshop. Now go ahead and open up Adobe Flash Professional CS 5.5. Help us improve our products. No, thank you. I don't care about your products. Wait, yes, I do. Make sure I'm still recording. Yep. Alright. Now, here we are in CS 5.5 Flash Professional. You should be presented with this screen. We're going to go ahead and in the create new category go to Action Script 2.0. Right off the bat, go ahead and go to Publish Settings here on the right side and name this to, let's name it to what are we going to name it? Tutorial. Why did I hit enter? Tutorial. It's automatically going to add the SWF. JPEG quality, if you click and hold the 80 and drag it to the right, it'll put it to 100%. Next thing up here, player, you want to set it to Flash Player 8 for compatibility purposes, I believe. And leave the script on Action Script 2.0. Over here on the left side, go ahead and unclick HTML wrapper, because we don't need it to create an HTML wrapper. We don't really need it to compress it. So go ahead and hit OK on that. Now, I believe, what's the name of this library? I don't even know. What's this called? Scene 1. Profile default. I thought I had to name this, but I guess not. Size. Size can be tricky. I haven't really played around with stretching the whole thing over the screen or how you want to do it. That's flow graph controlled, to say the least. So I'm just going to leave, I guess, 550 by 400 or 600 by 400. That's what will make our property size. Frames, I'm just going to go to 40. Why not? And what did I do wrong there? Oh, nothing yet. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is save it. Save as. Or as you can see here, I'm in my SDK, Game SDK libs UI folder. Now, right here is where I'm going to save it, right here in the UI folder. I'm going to name this, what do we name this? Tutorial. Tutorial.fla. Just go ahead and leave the default extension. There. Output file, tutorial.swf. Actually, what we need to do is we need to name this tutorial.gfx. Now, all a GFX file is a SWF with a different extension. That's all it is. So, CRYENGINE actually uses quote GFXs when they're really SWFs. So that's what that publish setting is. And if you notice, whenever you open up publish settings again, it's automatically going to add the SWF on there. You just don't even worry about that. We'll deal with that part later. I'll tell you how to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go to File, Import to Library, actually. And now that PSD that we saved in the GUI folder, go ahead and open it up, buttons.psd. Go ahead and check all 3 of the layers and hit OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go over here to the Library tab over here on the right. And we're going to open up this buttons.psd assets. Now first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take the idle button and drag it into the scene. Now this is going to be our basic button right here. Now, might as well put some text in it right now. Go ahead and use the text tool over here, blind, and we're going to name this button 1. Comic Sans, why not? Go ahead and select the move tool and drag it right in the middle of the button. Ta-da! Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is you're going to double click on the button, the image, not the text. Double click on the button here. I'm sorry, don't double click. Right click. Convert to symbol. Now you're going to see symbol 1. This is important. Make sure you name this button 1 and set the type to button and hit OK. Now, over here, right off the bat, as soon as you convert that up here on the right, you'll notice it says instance name. Make sure you name this button 1 again. Very important. If you do not, your button will not work. Now, where did my text go? Why is it? If this happens, I believe I can send it back. Yeah, it's weird. I'm not sure why I did that. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and save. I'm a save Nazi, just in case things crash. So now, what we're going to go ahead and do is double click on the button now. Make sure you double click on the button, and you're going to see over, down, and hit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select the up here, hold the Alt key, and drag it to over. And then we're going to drag it again to down. Now, go ahead and select the over key here, and select the button, delete it. Select down, do the same thing, delete it. Now you'll notice, you see this X right here, this is actually your alignment. This is what we're going to use to align it with the original up. So go ahead and go with over key selected, go ahead and go to your library and select the over image and just drag it in here. And you can just get it kind of close to the corner of the X there. Kind of close. It's not going to be perfect. See now, when we go from up to over, see how it moves a little bit? As soon as you click over, you can actually use your up and down arrow keys to move it. That's what I like to do. I'll go between the two and try and get them as close as possible. There we go, perfect. Now I'm going to go to down and I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to drag the down button in. Now go ahead and go to up, down, try and get them aligned right, or as close as possible. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, what's going on here? Nothing feels right. That's what she said. Oh, this is bad. Whatever, they're close enough. So now we have an up, over, and down when you actually click the buttons. Ta-da! So now go ahead and up here where you see button 1, go ahead and click on scene 1, and that's going to take us back out to the root here. Go ahead and save again. Now, we're actually going to have to set this button up so that CRYENGINE can talk to it or read from it correctly. So in the layer 1 here, you'll see this little tiny keyframe here. Go ahead and right click and select actions. Now we're going to set up that button action. So I believe it's button 1 dot on press equals function. This is only the second time I've ever done this. And then bracket, and it's going to do that. Now I actually really forgot what to do. Okay, I think you type fs command and then I take button 1 underscore I'm trying to remember what I named it in my config file for the tutorial. Button 1 press is what we're going to name it. That's fine. Button 1 press, and then you're going to do a colon at the end of it. So fs command, I don't know the right name for that. I think it's parenthesis, quote, and then button 1 underscore press. This command is actually the command that's going to be sent through our XML file to use in the editor. So if you check the syntax button and look over here, compile errors, there are no errors, but that doesn't mean you did it right. So Just cross your fingers. Now we're going to close that, and then we're going to save. Now we're done. Now we're going to go ahead and go to publish. And now, actually, if you watch, let me go into Game SDK, libs, UI. Now you're going to see, there it is, the gfx.swift. I've created a batch file here. What it's going to do is it's going to delete the just the GFX file. That's actually, if you've run this before, that's necessary, but the first time, if it exists, it's going to delete that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to rename the Swift to just GFX, and then it's going to delete the extra one. So every time that I publish in Adobe here, I run this rename. And it's actually not going to work because I'm stupid, because this needs to be tutorial. Oh man, inventory with tutorial. I'm going to save that batch file. Now, if you notice this tutorial.gfx.swift, as soon as I hit my batch file, it renamed it to .gfx. Simple. So every single time I go here to publish, see how there's two of them? I just go ahead and hit my rename batch, and it automatically updates my GFX to the newest version. I will put that batch file code in there as well. You keep it in your UI folder or wherever your GFX file is, and it should work. So now that that is done, we are actually going to go in and edit the UI elements XML file. So libs UI elements folder. If you don't have that, you can create it, and here's my inventory.xml. I'm actually going to rename this to tutorial.xml. HUD XML is not required. This is just a good reference if you need to find how the XMLs work. That's a way to do that. But we're just going to be focusing on tutorial.xml for right now. Like I said, all this code in this file will be put in the description, so don't worry about focusing on this. You can just download it, copy, paste it, alter it, whatever you want. Name, we're going to name this tutorial backpack. Inventory.gfx. Tutorial.gfx. Now once again, tutorial.gfx is this file right here, tutorial.gfx. Tutorial backpack. This right here needs to actually, I think this name needs to actually be the same as this XML. So XML, tutorial XML.xml. So now this is going to be tutorial XML, and then this is just going to be tutorial. This is going to be tutorial GFX. Alright, leave everything else the same. Scale, blah, 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 blah. Layer should actually be 0. My phone just turned off. Okay. Now, this right here. Event name, button 2 pressed. Why did I just try and name them all button 1? These events here are actually, see this FS command here, this is what's going to correlate with your flash file. So, button 1 impulse, if you look, if I go back into scene 1 here, see, I got it wrong. Button 1 press is the FS command. So I'm actually going to just rename this press. Now, if the button 2 does not exist in here, doesn't matter. It's just not going to work. So you can theoretically make 5,000 buttons, and you really don't need all 5,000 in your flash file, in your GFX. So don't worry about that. So that's basic simple. Description doesn't really matter. Button name. This is what's going to, I believe this is what is going to actually be displayed inside CRYENGINE editor. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. We'll get to that though. So tutorial.gfx, got your tutorial XML, got it. Close it. Done. Okay, now we're going to close that. Not worried about that. That's my backup. tutorial XML, got it in there. Make sure I get that updated. What's going on? Oh, I know what I did wrong. If you run that batch twice, by the way, it's going to delete your file if that doesn't exist. Just a heads up. So in that case, I just have to go back in here and publish it. That's what I get for getting all fancy on you guys. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and open up the editor. I'm going to go ahead and create a new level, and I'm going to name this tutorial. I'm going to leave it in default levels. I'm going to create an extremely small 128, hit OK. Wait for it. Like I said, small doesn't need to be high quality. Now I'm going to edit terrain. I'm just going to do something super basic. I think sea level is 16. Outer radius. Hardness needs to be up. There we go. Blammo. Basic level. Nobody cares, right? I'm going to go ahead and create spawn point. This is pretty important. Now I'm going to right click. I don't have to right click, I don't think. You can just come down here to create flow graph. Leave it on none. Alright. Now comes the fun part with the flow graph. Oh, it's so big. Spawn point, right click, add node. Kinda forgot. Debug input key. So this is going to be the key that's basically going to pull up our UI interface menu we just created. So I'm going to actually double click on key here and just set it to I. Just type I. That's all. Basically all you got to do. By default, it should be enabled, so don't need to tie it to an enable. We're going to add node. I believe input. No. Logic. Sequentializer. This is kind of a weird one. So when you press it, it needs to come in. So this is basically going to be our toggle between, as soon as we hit the key, it'll bring the menu up, and as soon as we hit it again, it'll take the menu down. So basically, we need to add node UI display config. Okay, so out one, we're going to set it to set. Now up here at the top, you're going to see element. Go ahead and double click on that, or yeah, double click and then select the select button, and you're going to see your tutorial UI menu in there now. That's good. Now you're going to set cursor to true, mouse events to true. If you do not set mouse events to true, basically whenever you click a button, nothing will happen. Key events, you can set it to true. We won't be integrating key functions in this, but console cursor true, console mouse and cursor true. I'm not sure if that makes a difference, but I leave them anyways. Okay, and then we're going to add another node, UI display. And since we did set this to set, as soon as that is on set, we're going to have connected to show. Element, once again, select our tutorial element. Show. Actually, we should probably add another UI display. That was config constraints. Yeah, go ahead. Disconnect show for now. We'll add this in the middle here. So as soon as that's on set, it needs to set this full screen. Yes. Middle, scale. I leave scale on 0. If you set it to 1, it's actually going to blow it up twice as big as it should be. So once again, you need to select element here. Theoretically, we probably don't need this constraint unless you're looking to tweak some of these properties and do an offset. If you look, it says set left position in fixed mode, etc. So you can actually tweak the screen position with this constraint. So as soon as that's on set, then we're going to go to show. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to grab this display here, and I'm going to do a Control C, which is a copy, and then a Control V, which is a paste. I'm going to drag it down here. Now, out 2 here on your sequentializer, go ahead and set it to hide it, so that as soon as we hit I again, it's going to hide it. Actually, another thing we need to do here is we need to add node. Ooh, what is it? I believe it's actor action filter. So, and then here you're going to see filter. Drop down menu, go ahead and select no mouse. Actually, might as well add another one, actor action filter. We'll set both of the, well, we'll set this one to no move. So when we toggle it on, we want it to enable no mouse, and the same with enable no move. Now on out 2, we want it to disable. So basically, it's just a flip toggle. So as soon as you bring up your menu, your player can't look around anymore, and you can't physically move with WASD. Essentially is what we just did. So now, assuming I did all this right, oh, we got to set the button function. Add node, UI, events. Because if you notice in that XML that we were editing in Notepad, we set this in the events category, and then you'll see your tutorial, and then you'll see button 1 pressed. Like I said, all the buttons that you have listed in your events will show up, but that doesn't mean they'll all work. So button 1 press is actually the only one that we have specifically set up in that graphics file, or the Swift file, if you will. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do, here, we'll get smart with this. Add node, logic, any. On your input key, go ahead and set press to N1 and out to N. And then on this event ID, we're going to set this to N as well. So basically, either the key press or the button press 1 is going to flip it to the opposite one. Kind of cheated on that one, didn't we? But so when button 1's pressed, it's basically going to do the same thing as hitting I, which is going to close it or open it depending. Theoretically, if it was closed, you wouldn't be able to open it with the button. So, kind of outsmarted it on that one. But we're going to go ahead and go to File, Save. Now we're just going to export to engine, just because we can. Now, we're just going to go ahead and hit Control-G, and it's going to take us straight into game. Now, if I hit the I key, you'll notice, oh, look, my button. Now, you see how I clicked and nothing happened? Now watch. See how it's just broken? This is an actual editor issue. This is not, if your menu doesn't work in this in-game, it's the editor's fault. So that's why you do the export to engine, and then you can actually go test it in-game. But I'm going to show you one more thing before we go in-game. If you go to View, Open View Pane, scroll down to UI Emulator. This is pretty cool. Oh, it's so small. Go ahead and select Elements on the left in the roll-up bar, and then go ahead and select Tutorial. Now, if... Where is it? Visible equals true. You have to check the visible box to see it. Now if you look, see my cursor here? See if I hover over it, it turns the red because I'm over, and if I click, it does the button down. See how it didn't do that in the editor? That means you know that the editor is the problem, even though that UI elements works. So once again, go ahead and save, export to engine. Successfully exported. Now I'm going to go ahead and close the editor. Now, if you'll notice, I have the editor and then I have a test here. I'm actually going to rename this tutorial. This is a cool little trick if you're looking to edit your levels. Go ahead and go to Properties. Here at the end, this is what you'll have in the target area. You'll have blah 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 blah.exe. So if you go to the end, space, and then do plus map, and then tutorial is the name of the map we just made. Now if you hit OK, and if you launch that, you will it'll automatically load right into your tutorial level, or whatever map you just set it to. Alright, here we are in. We have a gun. Now I'm going to hit I. See the button? See, now when I hover over it, it actually turns red. Now watch when I click. Ta-da! It closed it. It's exactly what we wanted it to do. close it again. Alright guys, so I guess at this point I want to show you guys how to add more buttons, so that's what we're going to do. Back in Flash, I'm going to go ahead and select the button. I'm going to hold Shift and select the text. Now I'm going to hold Alt and I'm just going to drag it up and drop it. I'm actually going to do it one more time, create 2 more buttons here total. So next thing to do would be go ahead and select the second button, which is very important, and name it button 2 up in the top right there in properties, and then select button 3 and name it button 3. It's important to do that because if you don't, this action script here is actually just going to perform the same action. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, copy it. Now I'm going to paste it 2 more times. So now I'm going to change this to button 2, button 2, button 3, button 3. There, now all 3 buttons have an FS command. Check that. Looking good. Now I'm going to name this ammo. Basically we're going to make that give you ammo, and then this we're going to make this kill. Something obvious. So simple as that. Go ahead and go to Save, File, Publish. It's going to publish that. We can close that. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my rename.bat and new tutorial.gfx updated. Now we're going to go ahead and launch the editor. Alright, now that the level's loaded, I'm going to go ahead and open up the flow graph and resize it again. And I'm going to go over to entity spawn point 1. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to add a new node, UI events tutorial. If you notice, I only have button 1 and button 2 pressed. Oh, I forgot to mention this part. Go ahead and close the editor. We got to go fix that. So go ahead and open up in your UI elements folder that tutorial xml.xml. Go ahead and open that. Now if you notice, only 2 were in my list because there's only 2 in the XML. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that line and then paste it in again. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 3, that to 3, and that to 3. Now I'm going to save it, close, and now we're going to go ahead and relaunch the editor again. Alright, level's loaded, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the flow graph, go back into entities again, and we're going to right click, add node, do the UI events. Now if you look, I have button 1, 2, and 3. So now I'm going to go ahead and add button 2. And if you remember correctly, I made button 2 say ammo. So add node, inventory, ammo add. Now on event if the key is pressed, I'm going to have it add the ammo. The ammo type, I'm going to just go ahead and select a basic rifle bullet. I'm only going to have it add 3 bullets for demonstrational purposes. Now I'm going to go ahead and add another UI event for tutorial, which is button 3 pressed. And if you remember correctly, I set that to kill. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to go add node. I believe it is actor. Damage, actually I think there's a kill player. On event kill. Or I think that kills me. Yeah, that should. I'm actually going to have this when you die, I'm actually going to set it to N as well so that it will close our HUD, or our UI, so to speak. So that's the basics of setting up additional buttons and adding them. It's as simple as putting them visually, setting the action event up in the Flash as we did, making sure you name your buttons right after you duplicate them in the Flash document. Then you go into your XML file and you make sure the FS commands are there for the game to actually receive them, and then you just set them up in the flow graph, and it's really as simple as that. So we're going to save that, and then we're going to export to engine, and then we're going to go jump in game. Go ahead and open an inventory. You can see we have the 3 buttons now. Close still works. Button 1 clicked. Why did I do that? Inventory, that works. Okay, good. Alright, 134 rounds. Give myself some ammo. 137, 140, 43, 46, 49, 150. Alright, now I'm at max ammo. Now, kill. See if the kill button works. Alright, apparently 400 damage is not enough. I'm still at 5% energy. But, yeah, so all 3 buttons are functioning, and there you have the tutorial. And, if you guys happen to like my shit, or give a fuck, oh my god, this is annoying. Go ahead and click that like button, subscribe, message me on here. I'm also on the CryDev forums, sphere.workington. You can PM me there, or you can PM me here. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and hopefully I have some more for you guys soon.